Good evening, everyone. Today we are live with on a very interesting topic. So I'm Nupur Pandey, Director Facilitating Excellence, and today we will be joined. We have Abhishek here with us. Hi, Abhishek. Thank you for joining in. I'm gonna invite you. Uh, just a sec. Um, so Abhishek, it's a CA. Hi, Abhishek.
Hi,
Uh,
Nupur. Good evening.
Good evening. A very brief background about what we are going to discuss and how this came about. Um, this discussion is basically coming from the fact that we've been discussing a lot about emotional and mental health. And last time when we had Dr. Ruhi on our panel, we discussed about something on lines of mental security in terms of security of what people want, and uh, that's how it actually came about with all this insecurity around finances, with jobs not being there. uh, and we've known each other since IIMs, right? So it's a long time, and you've been in you're a finance, so you're a CFO. You've been with PepsiCo. You've been with Fever. I just want to know, and then you're an insolvency professional. You're actually dealing with organizations who are right now in that kind of a situation. So what I want to understand from you is. What is happening, how has the situation, so one, I want to kind of discuss about from the perspective of what has changed when it comes to finances overall perspective, and what we'll also be discussing कि अगर हम एक घर के हाउस होल्ड की बात करें, so how has the financial outlook changed in our homes? So what has that changed? So first let me start with that question, that how has pandemic changed the financial outlook in our homes? That is one question that everybody is kind of worried about, is looking at. So here it is, Abhishek. Over to you. Abhishek is a CA. He is also a registered valuer, and you'll have to kind of explain it to us all the more. And insolvency professional. You were with Fever before this, and also with PepsiCo. Again, I'm just kind of reiterating. So there's a vast amount of experience in this field that you have and you're bringing on board right now within the in the finance field. So over to you on this, Abhishek.
Thanks, Nupur. Thanks, first of all, for a very nice introduction. So, okay, I'll tell you. In fact, coming from my perspective, where I have worked with both the corporates, and then for last almost now 6, 7 months, I have been working with various companies, helping them understanding their challenges, more particularly the MSMEs. Because as you were rightly talking about, this pandemic, what kind of economic impact it has created. Much of this impact has been on, when we talk about the currency grades, it's the smaller currency grade where it has had its biggest impact. For the simple reason being, those corporates or those businesses which were having deep pockets definitely had much more, strength to kind of bear this for a longer period in time, while we have seen their results have also taken a knock, but still to them it still is sustainable. But where the biggest impact has come in is all the micro, small and medium enterprises. And when we relate this to our personal finances, we are able to relate that very, very closely. Okay, because most of the MSMEs are also the ones which either they are the individual entrepreneur run businesses, or those businesses where limited number of people are involved. Those are not the large organization, and those are not the ones which have got huge backing in terms of either equity or in terms of the debt support which they have from the financial institutions.
Correct, correct.
While we'll keep that aside, we'll focus more, as your question number one was on the personal finance side, where pandemic has impacted and it has disrupted all other areas big way. One of the biggest ones has been, our personal finances. Of course, this is number two to the health and security aspect, which is no doubt, of course, this is very much right up there, and related to that, all the the mental challenges which it has created for each one of us.
Correct.
But yes, now on this front, I would say that pandemic has really raised one critical question, and this question is basically, while it was always known that future is unpredictable, but this has really put a question mark onto the future, our future financial goals. Okay, now how this has basically put a challenge onto the financial goals. Simple reason, at any stage of our life, we have certain financial goals. Amidst all other things, we plan about our career, we plan about our kids, we plan about our parents, and lot many other things. But financial goals is another thing which we plan about. Now, what basically this pandemic has done, it has completely thrown the equation of our financial goals into a completely out of whack. Let's understand what is this financial equation in case of an individual on from a personal finance perspective. There is an income on one side, and to balance it is the spending and saving stroke investments on the other side. Now, to all of us, it has impacted in one way or the other. Either it has impacted on the income side, or it has impacted in terms of the spends, the way we were spending earlier, or we were saving stroke investing our surplus investments. So in some way it has impacted. If it dwell a little bit to the next level in terms of incomes, people who have lost their jobs, otherwise in businesses they have basically faced huge losses because of close down or shut down of their shop establishment or manufacturing establishments, or any other kind of impact because of these lockdowns, which completely took the demand out of the market. So the incomes have seen, the impairment.
Correct.
Now, this, of course, has created, an imbalance in this equation. Okay, because all of a sudden you couldn't have, reduced your spending or your, investments were all basically, there was a kind of a monthly or a quarterly sort of a parking
A
of
budget
surplus once
sort.
you were, you had made. So this is one aspect of it. If say suppose, of course, people were fortunate, those who didn't get impact on the income side, but on the spend side, of course, due to all this panic, and due to also the situation which arose, where all the outward spends, which is stepping out and spending, which we used to do in the pre-pandemic era, and go for a some kind of spends, either shopping outside or other kind of entertainment, that in any which ways by design has got restricted. There are no avenues for that.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then you talk about the spending habits in terms of if you used to see some kind of offers, etc., you were really pulled towards sort of spending, even if there was no necessity. So this discretionary spends has somewhere got again arrested, and it has got converted to more of a necessity based spending. This is on the spending pillar of this equation.
Correct.
The third part is basically on the saving or the investment side. Now, on the saving side also, in the normal times, we used to have a habit of parking our funds into more sort of avenues which were promising better returns, higher returns. Okay, where we would say that, okay, let's put 40 to 45% of total investable surplus into equity or mutual funds, which were of course, which promise higher returns, but they also carry higher risks. Now, from that standpoint also, there has been a reservation. So for most of us, we have become much more conservative to kind of, whatever surplus we have, to make sure that those are parked into much more safer avenues, where at least the capital can get protected, even if the, the accrual, the earnings on that is, lower. So I would say that, it's basically this whole equation of balancing our incomes with spending and investments, which has completely undergone a change because of this pandemic.
Abhishek, I have a question on the last part that you said, and before that, I'd also like to take Akasha's question, because she's basically a young girl who's just kind of probably gotten on. And she's saying that I'm a digital marketer, so this like Like, which brings me also to one of the questions that I also had in mind, that there are a lot of people who are now trying to make it on their own. She's a digital marketer, has some income happening, but then now how does she plan a financial future? Because, like you mentioned, there's a lot of financial uncertainty happening, and there's also a lot of question in people's mind whether to spend on this, whether to go in that direction. The spending, the mental question mark is there, when you say that, the discretion, which is where we used to kind of say कि पहले इस पे खर्च कर लेते अब नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि अब पता नहीं कब जरूरत पड़ जाए, that kind of discretion has come about. So that is also affecting some kind of डिजिटल मार्केटर के ऊपर ही बहुत बड़ा फर्क पड़ रहा है इसको लेकर, जो स्पेशली जो डिजिटल एरा में है इस वक्त, कभी हमने देख लिया इसको.
Yeah,
So what
sure.
would your advice for that be?
No, sure. So two aspects. I'll in fact break it into two parts. One is, a digital marketer who is basically a professional, who is, providing promising services, which we have already seen now in this era. Digital marketing has, gained the kind of momentum which a conventional marketing, of course, has taken a backseat. So now in this scenario, one from the service seeker side. Who are the service seekers? Those brands who are basically, trying to build an image, and they know which platforms that is to be built on. That is, all the digital platforms on which they have to ensure their mass reach. And those are the platforms which in the last 1 year have all of a sudden taken a complete uptick vis-a-vis in a normal scenario, the kind of trajectory they would have achieved in 3 to 5 years maybe. So two aspects: one from a company side or a brand side, which are basically seeking services. There is a bit of a slackness in the demand, for the simple reason because the large mass is basically the MSMEs or the startups which are coming up and which are basically establishing their brands. So from their side also there is a bit of a conservatism where they are also not shelling out marketing monies at this point in time and preserving their cash to wade against this tough phase where you don't know till what point in time the normalcy is going to come back, till what point in time they will be able to see the market demand and the footfalls being there at least to some levels where there a break-even stage could be achieved. Right now most of them are basically much below their break-even levels, and hence even earning incurring losses at a gross margin level. So this is one aspect, one lens to look at it from a business perspective. The second lens is to look from the perspective of the professional, because it's a hard-earned sort of a professional acumen and a professional qualification, and which is the currency for the day. How to best utilize in such times where your core source, which was there, if suppose you were basically rendering the service to one brand or couple of brands. Now, how you just open your spectrum of services, your gamut of services to many more. So there are many platforms, which provide you the opportunity to, freelance and provide those services on those platforms by which you are able to reach out to, millions of people or the service seekers. Okay. So I would say that, the platforms like say an Insight Alpha or many other gig platforms are there, which are basically allowing you the opportunity to reach out to your, audiences, right? Or your clientele, and, sort of mitigate the impact which basically this pandemic has put onto, that equation which we just discussed, wherein the incomes have taken a beating, and, just be able to sort of sustain this tough phase and wait for the, normal period to come back.
And also here, how, and this was also about her, when she asks about financial future. So what should her financial goal be, like in terms of how should she plan her financial investment? What is it that, what is the kind of investment planning can she do from a very startup perspective? So there are a lot of startups coming up, especially now that the a lot of people who've kind of lost their jobs have now kind of taken up into solopreneurship or entrepreneurship. what kind of seed funding and how can they avail seed funding, or how can they get, so what is your advice on getting startup funding for them?
Sure. So I would say that if somebody is having an idea and which also has a support of a business model, because the base essential for taking that idea to any VC or any any person who can provide this funding, whether it is a government agency or it is a private venture fund, it requires that you need to propose it with a business model so that the other person is also able to see the amount of money which he is going to invest into your venture is going to be a fruitful investment with at least some bit of expectation from that tomorrow it is going to give a certain x of the value which he is investing today. So I would say that there are quite a few programs, particularly from the government support perspective. Startup India is one of the Government of India's initiative, whereby they are basically inviting all the bright ideas. Most of them are actually into the technology space because those are the ones which are much more welcome vis-a-vis the traditional brick and mortar sort of business setups at this
Correct.
point in time. So government is basically giving soft governance with respect to even lending also through the banking channels, or otherwise providing the support in form of one, the financial investment, and number two, also in form of certain benefits in terms of tax breaks, both in terms of GST as well as direct taxes. So those are the things which, if somebody along with that idea is also baking into one's business plan, will also help in terms of making those business plans much more amenable to an acceptance by a proposed funding agency.
That's really helpful, especially from the perspective of how to avail funds and plan the problem. Um, Going back to the first part that we were discussing about how has the pandemic changed the financial outlook in our homes, there was a discussion around the necessity buying and necessity kind of led, spending from houses. Okay, so there's one more question coming up. So I'll take that question up, Anu, in just a second, but quickly I'll ask mine. So one of the questions that I have is, when a person is, we're looking at a lot of liquid cash fund, cash here. I've read that people are looking at, we should have liquid cash, and there are a lot of articles also saying the same thing. So what the question that I have is, uh, how does one decide the top financial priorities during these times? Number one, and the number two is, how does one get to, because there are a lot of debts which are coming back, जो लोगों के पास already आ रही हैं, but then इस time around वो सब, there's a mental stress around कि भैया वो already, that kind of creates an overwhelm given this current situation. So how does one deal with that, and what steps can one take to minimize the debt, to get oneself into a debt-free situation? Is there any, or just to ease the mental stress? So
Sure.
just, yeah,
Sure. So I think
that's
it's in two parts. One is basically, in terms of what should be the financial priorities, right?
correct.
And then coming to the next one, which is talking about if somebody is already leveraged, which is basically some kind of a debt or, loan is already there, how to, deal with that in these kind of situations. So I'll, answer the first one where, again, I'll put it in two parts. One is basically in a normal scenario. Okay, this in any which ways nobody had imagined such kind of a pandemic with such kind of a huge impact. But even in a normal scenario, what basically a sane advice has always been, which is to have a sufficient cover, which is basically in form of life cover as well as a health cover. So these are the two things which are extremely important in any given scenario. Okay. Now, while there are different research studies, various publications which are talking about different numbers, I'll talk about the ones which I have been believing in and I have been sort of following. a life cover to the extent of, depending on the age bracket. So if you are below 40, your life cover has to be at least, 20x of your annual earning. Okay.
Okay.
If you are into your 50s, then this can slightly come down to around 15x. And if you are 50 plus, it can come down to around 10x. But these are basically some, thumb rules in terms of the life cover, which one should be always maintaining depending on which stage of life or what age profile of each individual is. The second bit is on the health cover front, which is the health insurance. Now, on health insurance front, again, uh, can't have been any scenario better than this to kind of let people know that how important and how critical it is. Have heard of so many cases where somebody is absolutely fine one day, is attracted by this virus, and 2 days into the virus impact, person is becoming really very, very serious, and somebody is required to be admitted, and all of a sudden there is a huge amount of discovery which is getting made. There is some heart ailment, there is some diabetic related issue, some more other thing, and now this is basically going to cost you huge. Okay, how to mitigate against that? And this is, of course, now you can't do that because it all has to be pre-planned and in a normal steady state itself. So there, basically, in terms of the health insurance cover, it is very, very important that it should be at least 6 times of your monthly income. Okay, and why at least 6 times is to actually make sure that even if, say, suppose you are going to be away from your occupation, whether it's you are into a business or you are into an employment, then at least for that point in time your income aspect is taken care of, because all of a sudden, if this much amount of money you are required to park out of or move out of your savings, it is going to have a huge impact. And hence, health cover to the extent of at least 6x of your monthly income, that is one advice. Coming to the now the pandemic specific aspects of personal finance. Okay, now in this again, there are certain aspects with respect to, we were just discussing in terms of the spending. One, of course, move away from all the non-discretionary spending and avoid the temptation of taking benefit of any kind of discounts or huge schemes, which basically all the e-commerce channels, they basically dole out. And this, of course, from their standpoint, it's a marketing tactic because they also have to run their shops. But from an individual's perspective, at this point in time, impulsive kind of a buying can, really be avoided. And somebody, stays limited only to the discretionary spends. The second aspect is also in terms of, certain low cost lending, okay, low interest lending, which is offered by many of the apps, which are basically talking about either a 0% interest or talking about really a very, very marginal rate of interest. And, they prima facie sound very, very exciting. But ultimately, what are these? See, ultimately, these are all going to be trapped. Okay. The best situation for any individual in such scenario has to be to kind of come back to a balanced, equation, which we discussed earlier, where, you have a certain income and you have balanced it with your spends and your savings. But if, say, suppose you get another aspect of borrowing into this, just for the lure of that, terms which that app is offering you, it is going to basically bind you in a vicious circle, because, of course, nothing comes free, in this world.
Correct.
So obviously, this is going to have certain catch. Okay, either some more terms or conditions will be there with respect to some pseudo hypothecation of some of your, belongings. So which tomorrow, for no sort of willingness of yours, you are basically caught into that vicious cycle. So avoid that. Of course, if there is a genuine need for any borrowing, then of course you should do the valid checks through the RBI website, because they clearly mention all the lending platforms which are registered with them to go only with those, right? Another aspect is basically now in terms of investment. Most of the people, also get lured during these times in terms of certain risky investments. Now, whether it is, getting lured by the stock market performance, or getting lured by most of the new investment instruments which are coming up, which is in the form of either investing in the startups through crowdfunding, because there they also give huge promises of 90x or 100x kind of returns, or in some instruments which are the new asset class which has come into being is the cryptocurrencies.
Correct.
Okay. Now these are all the aspects which at such point in time where your capital is really precious and you can't basically take risks, and the risk of losing your capital itself, those should be avoided at this point in time. It's only in the normal times where a person is able to park certain amount of his saved capital towards the risky bets, which can be, of course, used for wealth creation rather than you're saving an accretion at a certain rate of growth.
So I'm going to take the question by Anu, which was, I'm a partner in a startup, but the government policy is very confusing. So how does in terms of what Anu, I mean, in terms of what would is it confusing? In terms of finances, where should you go to finance? So I think what she wants to probably ask is how should she go for financial? Where can she kind of get financial guidance? Is that right, Anu? Is that the question? Not sure. And then I think she's also said that she's already 50. I think this was when you were talking about life cover. So what should the life cover be like? So how should
10x,
okay.
around
So,
10x.
around 10x. So when
Yeah.
you're already 50, you should have a life cover of about 10x. And how should she go about getting government funding? So I think that this is also about for the MSME and the startup funding kind of thing. There are portals and there are.
No, sure. So I think it depends in terms of what is the business model. If the business model is such which allows you a bit of a leverage to be taken, whereas basically I'll explain it in simple terms. If say suppose your business is already commenced, and there is a stream of revenue, okay, a steady state revenue which has started flowing in, and you are able to from a bottom line perspective, at least you are able to break even if not making profit, but if you are able to break even, then you can definitely go in for some kind of soft borrowing, which is basically for MSMEs, because that you will be able to avail at a cheaper rate of interest. There are also the terms and conditions for those loans are also softer, so that it doesn't take too much of time, doesn't require too much of hypothecation and pledging of your assets, so you are able to secure those. Apart from that, if say suppose if that is not the situation and your venture is at a pre-revenue stage where the revenues have not yet started accruing in, then in that case the better approach will be to look for some equity partner who based on the potential which your business promises in terms of either your reach to the customers, or your audiences in case it is any kind of a service proposition, then based on that you should be able to get yourself valued first of all, and basis a certain valuation reach out to the venture partners, because these days I would not say that there is dearth of funds in the market. It's only basically dearth of good ideas which basically most of these VC houses are actually looking for, and that's where basically they are also open to kind of give some aggressive valuations basis which they can offer the funding.
So, Abhishek, is there any VC houses or something that we can probably guide listeners to in terms of where can they get a probably, because this is probably a new startup, even something that I'm doing. So, if I want to kind of go and so where should I get this? Probably, like you said, we have this RBI thing where we can probably look up and say these are the lenders that we can probably look up. So, is there a database of sorts that that is available?
See, there are many applications actually which are themselves giving you, which could be the VCs from where funding is available, or otherwise those are the fund houses which you can reach out to with your business idea. And if you are able to convince them with your business idea, then yes, they provide you. I'll basically name out one of the platforms which I have been very closely associated with, and many of the startups which basically come and present their ideas over there, is a platform called Inflection Point Ventures. Okay, now this IPV is a platform where basically they give opportunity irrespective of the size of investment which you are seeking into your venture. It's basically right from entry stage, which is the seed funding, to say just pre-stage series one, where basically they are sort of happy to kind of partner and invest into your venture. So I'm sure there are platforms like that, many of those which are there. But this is one of the platforms which I'm sort of working with.
That's actually very helpful for everyone on board. So yeah, I think pretty much we've covered everything. We've covered one of the questions that I genuinely I am not sure that how does it actually go about. We have people who have lost any source of income right now, but then they have financial. Okay, Anu wants you to repeat your when the partner organizations that you're working with, the VC person that you're working with, the
Yeah, no, the ones which basically who have lost their primary source of income, if the question is on that part. So as I was, talking about this even earlier also, uh, see, each one of us, have some or other skill set. Now, that skill set could be on account of some hobby we have been pursuing and we are kind of really mastered that skill, or otherwise due to our own occupation into some kind of services. Suppose if I have been in accounting line, so I have become, an expert in that, and now I can basically provide this kind of a service to any kind of organization or any kind of a business situation. So there are
correct.
many, platforms which basically, provide this, the kind of opportunities to render your services, you know, put your proposal in terms of what you want to offer, and you will be able to reach out to your, prospective clientele. So it all actually depends in terms of how do you package your sort of potential services and be able to make yourself marketable on these platforms. Because today, of course, it is the current scenario is not allowing you an opportunity as opposed to past pre-COVID era, where you could step out and you could reach out and meet people and be able to convince them in terms of what kind of services you can render. So of course, all this needs to be done digitally, and which is where basically these kind of platforms, they come in really very handy.
Quickly, Abhishek, Anu wanted you to kind of repeat the VC that you are working with, so I'll type it for her sake.
Sure, yeah, this is Inflection Point Ventures.
Just a sec. Inflection point. This is it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that is yes. Since our pretty much our we have limited things to work with. So digital is the only thing that we can work with right now, and showcasing our abilities on digital platforms is also getting beginning to become a challenge sometimes. So, but then yes, that is what. So I would probably be almost towards the end of the session, and it was has been a great discussion. But one of what is what would be your advice finally to kind of manage our final advice, final kind of nuggets to kind of wrap this up and say, and there have been many we've talked about spending up to for the necessity part, ensuring. One of the questions I think I'm going to go back right now because this was a question that when I discussed this, I want people ask me to ask you. So I just kind of missed it was about the current market situation. Um, yes, so I have to ask this because what is the current market situation like? And people who are not really, so the lay people like me, they're not really familiar with the market. So on one hand, you say that the corporates are cushioned, so we still see a very high market. It's like yesterday, so at 49,000 something closing at that. So I don't know. So what should we invest? Should we not invest? What is it like right now? Cryptocurrencies, you said no, no dabbling with something we are not familiar with. What about markets?
No, certainly. So, first thing first, I believe at this point in time, it is extremely crucial to conserve your capital, to make sure that, first is the age-old conventional advice to make sure that, a good chunk of your overall surplus is lying liquid. Okay, it should not be stuck into those avenues where, its liquidation becomes challenging. Okay, say suppose somebody has hugely invested into, real estate. Now, can we think about a scenario, the current scenario where you will be able to, easily, convert it into money by, realizing by selling out your real estate and converting into liquid cash. Of course, it is going to be challenging these times. Now, similarly, in the stock markets have for the last 1 year, while those are always deemed to be over a long period of time, say if you were talking about 3+ years, then it can provide you a good value accretion if you place your bets on certain good fundamental stocks which have got strong balance sheet, strong performance. But in times like these, even those scripts, they also become really risky. Just for an example, now you talked about yesterday 49,700 something was basically the market levels. A stock called Godrej Consumer Products, again, one of my ex organizations we have worked with. Now, just with one news blip of their MD and CEO getting replaced and somebody from HUL joining that organization, the stock price shot up by 150 bucks just in one day and just because of the breakout of this news. Now, the question is, has the fundamentals of company undergone a change? Is it that this person is going to come in with a magic wand and the company is just going to increase its turnover from 9,800 crore to 19,800 crore, because of which it is able to attract that kind of a market cap? So just in one day, it was able to appreciate its market cap by around 8,000 crore for no rhyme and reason, just with one news clip. So this is how the markets are so volatile that for anybody who is not existing into the market and somebody is to make a new entry, right? It will be a very, very, I would say, risky bet to put your capital over there and without being able to, sort of, even if you are going in with a good research support also, saying that, okay, this stock seems to be really good. So you talk about, say Cadila or Cipla. Of course, these guys are manufacturing, all the essential drugs, etc., for, COVID related support. But even then, you don't know because the volatility is so high that, sentiments can either take them right up there or they can really make them fall like a pack of cards. So for anybody who is to, conserve his capital at this point in time, it's a risky bet to, enter the markets. The safer bet would be, if for a short term, if you have a certain liquidity, say suppose you got some, sort of capital which you redeemed out of your any realization of investment which got redeemed. Now you want to park it for some time. You can put into a 90-day treasury bill, which is, the sovereign security secured by the government of India. You're rest assured that until unless, India itself, Indian economy goes for a toss and Indian government goes bankrupt, till that point in time, nothing is going to happen to that money.
What is a treasury bill?
It's a government bond, you can say. It's basically for a short term that government takes that money and provides you lower rate of interest. Of course, the rate of interest is going to be really very very low. In fact, lower than in fact your current FD rate, or almost equal to that. But it comes with 100% security.
Safety zone.
100% security, okay, which is where basically even banks also are not able to provide you that security, because any money kept into your bank account, a single bank account, is secured only to the extent of rupees 5 lakh. Tomorrow, if say suppose that bank fails, if it goes into bankruptcy, what you will get from the bank as a safety amount, as an insured amount, is only 5 lakh, not more than that. But from Government of India, of course, you will get full money.
That is a huge no, because see, nobody. I mean, from the layperson's perspective, nobody knows that. Right? So I don't. So that is something which is a huge value add for all the listeners out here. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for joining in. It was a very, very, very useful session for everyone, and I know that I'm going to call you back again. I know I'm going to have you for a lot of new information. So we're going to plan more sessions like these, and so thank you everyone who's joined in this session, and thank you, Abhishek, for joining in.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.